The US is in for an economic whirlwind in the coming months, as if I needed that to explain that to you. The Biden administration's policies have been an utter disaster on the economy for quite a while now, and I would argue they are the most disastrous phylum of policy that the Biden administration has been putting through over the past few months of its existence. And this is only going to get worse because of the vaccine mandate. Now, the vaccine mandate is already incredibly embattled. We could talk about its blatant unconstitutionality, particularly the proposed OSHA violations, which have somehow yet to surface at this point, and a number of other problems which the Biden administration has run into in trying to propose a vaccine mandate. But the major problem that we've been running into within the past few weeks happens to be the labor problem. Because since they are trying to push this through as a labor condition, saying that you cannot have a job if you do not have the vaccine, the experimental, no long-term studies, because it literally hasn't existed long enough to have such things, vaccine, then you cannot have a job. You are going to be fired, particularly from federal jobs. Now, why you would be working for the federal government anyway, I have no idea, though at least I understand the job security aspect of it. But in this case, it has not gone well for the Biden administration. You see, the labor market was already an employee's market. It was already really pushed in the favor of employees over the past few months due to other Biden administration policies, such as the continuation of workers' benefits off of jobs, or you might say unemployment benefits, or lazy person benefits, and other things of that nature, which have led to a lot of people just simply not working, and has led to a labor shortage in a lot of industries. This has led to things like the supply chain crisis, which we're now going through, and that's only going to get worse with the vaccine mandate, because if even 10 to 20% of people decide to just walk off the job because of the vaccine mandate and go somewhere else where they aren't doing that sort of thing, every industry that tries to impose it is going to have a problem. And this has been seen in many industries even up to this point. I mean, we could talk about what's happened over just the past week with regard to airlines, where first South by Southwest, and now the latest example of it being Boeing, of people going out and having their freedom flu, taking off their accrued sick days and paid vacation hours before eventually just leaving the job outright. Many people have been taking their jobs off, and this has led to many cancellations, particularly with Southwest, which they blame on the weather incomprehensibly. And this is just pretending the inevitable fate of Biden's vaccine mandate on a federal level, because we've already seen it happen in other places. Take, for example, the Department of Transportation, which one of their work crews left a couple of messages for the Biden administration after they walked off the job, saying that they are going to live free and get fired, which I honestly fairly appreciate. That's, I think, a fairly good way to go about these sorts of things. And really, the vaccine mandates are quite encouraging because it shows a bit of a reversal of the attitude that many people have had over the past almost 2 years at this point. Because remember, you only have to go back to March of last year to see a populace which is perfectly willing to accept any violation of its rights just in case there may be an advantage for the general public health, which is, frankly, I believe, a contradiction in terms, public health. And that attitude has run its course, and fully run its course, even in America, which is a fairly long-suffering country in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we've seen protests all over the world with regard to vaccine mandates, vaccine passports, and other COVID restrictions that are making their way to the U.S. as well. I mean, I've talked about the New York City protests, which I find to be incredible, especially considering that it is a blue district in a lot of ways, NYC, and New York more generally is a blue state. All of these things are frankly fairly encouraging, even if they are going to lead to a short-term economic whirlwind. I mean, of course, these things, walking off the job and doing that sort of thing, are going to end up with lots of shortages, lots of short-term problems for many people, because a lot of the more productive people are going to be walking off the job and simply saying, well, I'm not going to do this because you're trying to take away my freedom. But long-term, once it gets to that, this is going to even more torpedo Biden's credibility. I mean, the guy's already basically a lame duck. It hasn't even been a year, and his approval rating is already reaching the 30s. The high 30s, low 40s in push polling. Things which are terminally dem +5 or +8 if you're talking about Ohio in the last election. They have been trying to prop up Biden in every way possible for months at this point, and it's becoming completely untenable. At that point, all of these things are going to be, for the most part, walked back. I mean, it really just takes some blowback, and eventually they're going to walk back policies. I've talked about many times where Biden has walked back a number of policies. Take, for example, the border. He's gotten so much blowback on that, he's going to restart Trump's return to Mexico policies next month. That's how much public sentiment and approval ratings can affect a presidency's policy, even if it's a honk, totally fairly fortified elected president. And so you should take that to heart, especially considering that the president is not dictator. There are lots of ways to get around the president, and one of the major ones is to do it locally, is to do it on the state level, where they have, frankly, much more power over your individual daily lives than the president ever does have, or really even can have. So you have a lot of options here. You can do a lot of things, and I know I'm always going into these rants about how you can do better, you can do more. But it's really true, especially considering that on the right, there's a lot of people who are pushing the totally not fed line that everything's hopeless and you can do nothing and go and do terrorist attacks. Totally a good idea. So you need to go out and actually do things. You need to go out and involve yourself civically on a local level. You need to go out and talk politics with the people around you and involve yourself in the local elections and all that sort of stuff. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys off. If you enjoyed that video, do in fact subscribe down below and check me out on other platforms. I'm on BitChute, I'm on Rumble, I'm on Brighteon, I'm on Odyssey, and also I'm on Minds, Gab, and Getter. If you want to check out those links, they're all down in the description. I'm KelKidman, this has been Breaking on the Daily, and I'm out.